So not that long ago, in our galaxy, which is like right here, we read a book. And by we, I mean Higgins, Snoop, and our special boy, Michael.
Nice.
They'll come together and I guess become evil, because that's what this book is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just like Darth Vader, they'll only have rage, pain, and the new episode of Comrades, Cocktails, and Comics.
You only do 15 seconds of that before it's copyright claim. It's Disney, so they will.
Oh, wait. No, I actually did the wrong one, right?
Yeah.
That's the Darth Vader one, right?
That is the Darth Vader one, yeah. You
All
know
right.
Star Wars.
Hop in there. Yeah, I know Star Wars. Hello and welcome to Star Wars. Do you got our intro for us now? That was all I was gonna say.
No, you said more than enough, Higgins.
All right,
you said everything
thank
you
you.
needed to and more. Thank you for doing that. I wouldn't have gotten that kind of intro in another galaxy far, far away.
Exactly.
Yeah. And another thing that galaxy wouldn't get is Michael.
Our special boy.
I guess we're going with that anytime we refer to him. But yes, he is right here. He's got a mic. He wants to say something in that mic. I could tell.
Well, first off, I think you're the only one that calls me special boy, but hello everyone, and Snoop, Higgins, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here.
Yeah, super excited to get this because I know this is the first Star Wars issue.
It is the first Star Wars issue that we've ever done, which is
time.
It's not surprising because Higgins, as we've talked about before, is you're indifferent to Star Wars, aren't you?
It's like I don't not like it. It's fun. It's fun space stuff, but I'm not heavily invested in the lore or anything like that.
That's good though, because that means you're probably gonna. Because I feel like Michael, you really love Star Wars. You picked this book, which I think is a good choice. I've read it before. I was happy to read it again. I tend to fall somewhere in the middle where I can openly admit that some Star Wars is good, some Star Wars is bad, and some of it's just not for me.
Oh no, I can definitely agree with that. You know, the older Star Wars are definitely my preference.
Yeah.
So, but
I've only seen one of those.
You need to catch up.
And we're going to talk about that plenty, but I figure we take the time here because Michael is here as a guest, which that's not news for us. Higgins, we're very popular.
Oh, yeah.
People love to guest on this podcast.
We've got at least 4 or 5 now that came on.
I can't count them all in one hand.
I know.
Don't have enough fingers for that.
Some of them might be dead. I don't know.
Well, it's good that we got them on the podcast.
I know before then.
Yeah, this is their legacy. Sure, they're fine with that. But before you're kind of a different guest than what we've normally had in the past, and that's because Higgins and I typically just give back to our guests. You know?
Oh yeah,
we supply drinks.
We give them drinks.
We supply good times, good banter, microphones.
They get to hang out
and
say words.
They love it. But you're actually giving back to us.
That's right, boys and girls. We've sold out.
No, I guess I'm your first official sponsor now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I mean, we can just slap your name on the front of ours, like Michael's Comrades, Cocktails, and Comics. Now it's whatever.
None of that.
What about like a tasteful back tattoo that Higgins can get?
Tasteful back.
Yeah.
Higgins is gonna
like
get
a
it?
little like tramp stamp billboard.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, it's got your logo on it.
Yeah,
the logo for
as long as it's purely visible all the time.
Well, you know he wears nothing but crop tops. So
I mean, like at least then they'll hate to see me go, but love to see me go. I forgot the saying. They'll hate to see me leave, but they'll love to see me go.
they hate to see you go, but they love to watch you leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Something like that.
More or less. You should probably like
Because of the tattoo.
tattoo that saying on like your wrist or something so you never forget.
Oh, like a memento.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. I think if you get 2 tattoos on the same day at the same time, it's a discount.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But you're going to get that tattoo of the logo for Michael's business, which I am really excited for him to tell us about.
Yeah, no, so I recently launched I guess you can call it an entertainment or a publishing studio called 008 Studios, and we basically do everything books, comics, and video games. And since you guys obviously do comic reviews, I figured why not?
Nice.
I am a huge fan of the podcast, actually.
Yes, another one. We suckered them in.
That's two.
Yeah, I listen to you guys all the time, and like I try to keep up with the dates of you guys' releases, but
Well, that's not really your fault. We're kind of sporadic with that. Higgins reminded me the day of when I released the last one that I completely forgot to edit it.
We just forgot it was Wednesday. I mean, we're busy guys.
Sort of.
A lot of business meetings now that we're sponsored.
yeah, no, it's relatively young, but you know, I got a few projects lined up, and I figured I'd hop on here and one, you know, like you said, kind of help y'all out with you know, acquiring books and the liqueur and you know, all that good jazz, and then kind of talk a little bit about what I do right now. So
Yeah,
that sounds delightful. What specific projects are you cooking in the tank right now that you'd be willing to share with our listeners?
Yeah, no. So as I kind of just revealed, it's just me right now. But I have a book that's it's a little fiction novel that I've been working on, and I'm looking to publishing either end of the year or beginning of next. So it's
Nice.
pretty close to the finish line here.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but we normally like pictures, but I mean, I might read a no pictures book just for you.
Yeah, it's not a graphic novel, but it definitely has a lot of illustrations in it.
Yeah, we'll just read it at Halloween so they know it's kind of scary.
Oh, I mean, sure.
That's the no pictures part's the scary part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm mostly into that fantasy genre. Or I guess I should say the fiction realm, because it's fantasy, sci-fi, a little bit of horror and whatnot. So I don't really, you know, discriminate as long as it stays in that fiction, but I'm not just trying to get my own works out there. I'm trying to kind of promote and facilitate for other people to get their stuff out there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
get the smaller voice out there.
Yeah,
Get their
so
stuff
I'm
published.
trying to kind of provide the more I guess effective alternative.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of studios out here are just greedy.
Yeah, it's
and-
tough to get your voice out. You don't want to have to. You want to be able to deal face to face with someone sometimes.
Well, I think in Michael's case, because I've talked a little bit with him about his business off air, a big thing for you as compared to like those other big companies like Amazon, Disney, whoever's publishing books, you've got a better deal for people coming to you than they're going to get going to an Amazon or a Disney or more, you know, any of that stuff.
Yeah, of course, everything's negotiable. So if for whatever reason somebody wants to do traditional publishing, that's fine. I can do that too. But rule of thumb for me is I like to exercise revenue sharing to kind of a larger, more dynamic degree. So for those that are familiar with royalties, the average royalty ranges between 60 to 10%. 10% being very generous.
Yeah.
And the expectation, especially for authors, and again, books, comics, video games, so it's authors, artists, and developers for me, but especially for authors, the expectation is that they have to make their money some other way. So book signings and interviews and whatnot, the actual books are the lesser part of their income. And while the publisher helps them, you know, get all that stuff, they still take a huge chunk of that money. So
Oh yeah.
if they were looking to make a living off of their work, chances are that they're probably not going to.
They got to get a movie deal.
Yeah, they probably, it has to reach that multimedia level.
Oh yeah.
The bigger companies, like what their appeal is, it's easier for them to get the word out about you, especially if you're up and coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my idea was, even though I'm a little bit smaller than the known Titans, I do have a little bit, you know, of range of motion, and I still have a little bit of a social media presence, although it may not be mainstream social media, and I have a network that I can work with. But as far as the deals that I offer, the more dynamic revenue sharing is, you know, obviously I can either front the money or pay upfront for the publishing costs. And then after, or I guess I can kind of break down as an example, like say that we agree to a 70-30 split for a period of time until I can make that cost back. You know, it would be 70 in my favor. And then as soon as that's done, you flip it. And then the creative gets 70% of the deal. Or if you agree to 80-20, 90-10, whatever the case may be, it's all negotiable. And it's all written down and documented and you know, all official. So
Yeah.
I felt that was the better way to go. There's obviously different tiers of service. There's obviously different availability. So if you're more comfortable doing it traditional, or if you just want straight, advanced pay, let me do it myself, and then assist me with certain portions. I'm all about just getting that story out there.
Okay.
So
yeah, that sounds great. I mean, and the book is the main thing that you're about to launch. I think, is it next year? You said.
So
is the plan?
It has to go through editing, and
Okay.
I'm waiting on the illustrations to be done. But yeah,
There is pictures.
I said it. It's not a graphic novel, but it definitely has a lot of illustrations in it.
Man, that's just fine.
I think I counted upwards of like 20, 25.
That's probably enough pictures.
Yeah, I don't.
That's at least-
It's not a scene by scene illustration though.
20,000 words.
It's very very evocative sketches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book is the first project. Once it comes out, my hope is that it gets the name out there at one, and then it allows me to work on my second project, which is still kind of up in the air. So I have idea for a comic, I have ideas for a second book, and I have ideas for a game. So it really depends, I guess, the pool of resources that I'm working with. Because if other people want to start collaborating with me, like I said, I'm open to it, and that kind of changes the plans a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the main goal, the main priority is getting the story out there, and I'll keep doing me until somebody else needs help.
Nice. Yeah. And I like that this is kind of what because this is like you recently kind of come to this model as a whole. When we first talked about it, you were just doing video games.
Yeah.
But I like that you've kind of branched out into this multimedia aspect. And
yeah, so my day job, I'm an IT manager. I deal with a lot of coding, and I figured that I'd try my luck at making a game. And it's definitely a difficult route to go on by yourself. And what I kind of figured was stick to the strengths. And I originally was going to kind of exercise the same thing, tell the story, but through a video game. Well, if my specialty is to tell the story, then, I can always let somebody else make the game. And then it kind of branched out to like, well, if I'm telling a story, what other ways can I tell a story? Books and comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off with the easiest of the three, for me at least, and started writing this book, and I just kind of kept going. And now that I'm near the end, I'm just like, oh, wow, I actually did this. So then now that I'm reaching the end of my school, I guess my school time, I figured let's make it official. Did all my documentation. I'm an official entity now, and now I'm starting to scale out.
Nice.
So,
God, I wish I was an official entity.
Because you are an official podcast.
I guess that's true. I'm on some
008 Studios.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna start saying that now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which we're more than happy to.
Presented to you by 008 Studios.
Yeah, you work on that a little bit, but I think you've got the tone. Like, yeah. What is it? Put a bit of timbre in your voice, maybe.
Presented to you by 008 Studios.
oh, I love it.
That's good. I could take that.
Maybe a little more bass, huh?
And so, see, I could take that and I could just put it away as a file and then just throw that in the beginning.
Oh, that would be pretty good.
It would. I'm not going to do that, but
You're
just
just
so
gonna
you
make
know,
me do it every time.
Yeah, because I feel like that's how I get your.
Well, that's
best
how I
work.
get better.
Exactly.
That's also how you do reading for squares too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Oh wait, we're
We'll
not
get to
ready.
that later. Yeah. No, like all that sounds great. I would actually, when the book kind of, and I just thought of this right now, but when the book gets closer to actually, launching, I would love to have you back on just to kind of talk about that.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
we can just make that a separate little podcast. Higgins, you can be on that with us as well.
Oh
if
yeah,
you
I'll read
want.
a book. I'll read a book.
Yeah. And so you said it's in the editing phase as of pretty recently, right?
So I have just a few bits to tweak, but it's going to go into the editing. I guess the editing process, November.
Excellent.
Which is a few weeks from now.
Yeah, maybe even sooner because this episode will come out in November.
Yeah, so maybe even sooner. But after that editing phase, I kind of tweak it a little bit more, and then I'm at the mercy of the illustrator, who also has a pretty tight schedule. So I'm just kind of, while that's waiting to get published, I'll probably just move on to project number 2, and then if I can do 2 at once, great. If not, I'll just launch the first and then keep going. So
Excellent. Well, we will be very excited to keep people up to date on what you and your studio are doing as far as all those things go. And yeah,
Any
so
updates?
for this will be the kind of new thing. Like we won't take, as we have you here, so we wanted to take advantage of that. But
Yeah, let them give them the
any
big
updates
details.
you give to us, we're really excited to give to I think some people listen to this.
Now
we
we
know
can-
Michael does. We can tell Michael about it.
Now we can like before we do readings for squares, like we'll be like, and now a message from our sponsors, and then we just say words that you tell us to say,
Okay, or I can
and
just
then maybe put a fart joke in there because like that's how you get people to stick around for it.
I didn't tell you, but we were doing that already.
Oh
I
yeah,
do it in the edit. Yeah.
oh that's good.
Yeah, it's real good. Well, excellent. If there's any other points that you would like that you can think of, I don't have any questions for you as of yet.
well, I'm sure I'll say this at the end, but if there's any questions, you can hit me up on the website, and I guess I'll save the details for the very end when we're doing the sign off.
Mhm.
So
That's good. I like that.
I'm always open for communications, and I'll answer in the middle of the night if I have to.
Yeah, and is at this point is your site officially launched, or are you still tweaking that as
So
of right now?
it's launched. It's official. You can buy stuff or buy services. Reach out to me. But it does have a little note saying that it's still a work in progress because it looks like a school project, which it is. But eventually it will become a little bit more responsive, automated, a little bit more smart.
Streamlined and such.
exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the name at the very end of the sign off. But when you get there, just don't be expecting like a Disney Channel website. So
Hey man,
It's probably already a bit more developed than a Disney Channel website.
I know
I'm not gonna start a war that early.
Yeah.
They're blown away.
No, send me a link for your website, and I can throw it in the description notes at every episode from now on, including this one. No
Yeah.
one will ever look at it, but that one person might.
Yeah, no problems. I will.
I'm looking at Disney.com right now, and it's like it's
Trash.
Fine. It's
isn't it?
fine.
Yeah, it's absolute trash.
Y'all are
it's
gonna get
fine.
me in trouble already.
We're always in some sort of trouble. Well, cool. Well, I guess now that we've talked about that, we can go into an even heavier subject on right, Higgins, our show, Star Wars. But this month, whatever it is, let's call it Comrades, Cocktails, and Comics with me, Snoop Lynch, and you, Higgins Sturm.
That's me.
That's him right there. You cool with that? We'll call it that for this month, and then go back to the Star Wars show.
What'd you? Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's normally
fine.
what we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but we're going to be talking about a Star Wars book this time, so I feel like we need to take some of the Star Wars out of the equation. He didn't say anything. He's fine with it.
I guess so.
So yes, we are going to be talking about Star Wars, a book about a Star Wars character, Darth Vader. He's in space.
He's the chosen one.
This title I'm making up is about as long as the title of the actual book we read, and Michael can tell you that book if he has it pulled up. If not, I would love to tell you.
So, when in the last episode you had a few subtitles with it, but what I know, it's Star Wars Darth Vader, and it published in 2017.
Yes, that is all correct. Yes.
Star Wars Darth Vader 2017, and we happen to read the trade collection called The Chosen One.
Yeah, and then
Whatever that
there
means.
was another Imperial machine.
I've got it written down here because it's just so. So the issue being, and we've kind of had this similar issue with recently with Jupiter's Legacy. There's more than one Darth Vader book. Like, who would have thought? He's a real hot property.
Yeah, I mean, people probably like reading about him.
Yeah. So the official title for this one, at least on Comixology, Amazon, all that good stuff, is Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, Volume 1, Imperial Machine, parentheses, 2017.
That's pretty good.
That's the one.
That's it. Yep. And that
For sure.
one is written by Charles Soule.
Yeah.
Charles? Old Charles Soule. Hey, are you familiar with some of his work?
I'm
Mayhaps?
not. Maybe.
Michael?
I don't know. I'll look up his name.
He's actually this is a first for me.
Okay. I've read a couple things. This is the main thing
You
I've
read
read.
She-Hulk?
I have not read She-Hulk. So he's done a She-Hulk run. He's done a Daredevil run. What I find interesting about, I haven't read those, but what I find interesting about that
Death of
is
Wolverine?
apparently Charles Soule, his original background is he was a lawyer. So Daredevil lawyer, She-Hulk lawyer. I find that, I'm sure there's some good stories in there.
Anakin was a lawyer.
He was a lawyer, yeah. And he's done a lot of Star Wars books. I watched a couple interviews this morning with him about this particular story, and I didn't realize he was the one who had done some of the most popular comics or Star Wars comics in recent memory. So there was a Lando miniseries back in the day, maybe like 2015, 16 kind of. And then he also did an Anakin and Obi-Wan miniseries.
He's got some bounty hunter stuff going on.
He's got the bounty hunter stuff. He did the Poe Dameron series when the sequel trilogy was kind of like, people were talking about it. At least they didn't like it. We all know that, but they were talking about it.
I liked it all right.
And then he got a chance to do Darth Vader with this first volume in 2017, and art is by, I'll let Higgins pronounce that guy's name. He's Italian.
Giuseppe Camuncoli.
Yeah.
Giuseppe Camuncoli.
I think it's Camuncoli?
I don't know, Gabagool.
Exactly. But yeah, Giuseppe Camuncoli. He's also pretty big. The most notable works that I found about him is he did the Superior Spider-Man run, which I don't know if you guys know what that is.
I know it's Spider-Man, but that's
I know it's Superior.
So the reason,
Man, look at this guy. We're nailing it.
guys
Two of
just-
us put us together.
chemistry's there, I can tell. So Superior Spider-Man was a Spider-Man run where Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man's body.
Oh, that sounds
And
cool.
It's just what if Spider-Man, but he had Doc Ock arms, and also
that's when he gets the fancy arms on his back. Because I'm looking at it right now.
there's the Iron Spider one that has arms on his back.
It's
That's
like
from
the
Civil War.
four
but
reach arms.
yeah, if they look like Doc Ock claws, they're his. So he did that. He was art on. I've seen some of the art on that. It's really great. He also did a Hellblazer run, which
That's John Constantine.
yes, I don't know which particular era, but he's no slouch as far as art goes. And lastly, I have a note about colors, which were done by a guy named David Curiel. I sometimes remember to put the colors down. I sometimes don't. I remember to do it this time because for me, with the art, the colors really elevate it. But yeah, so just some little facts for everyone in the room.
Fun facts.
Yeah. Do you guys know how this book kind of came to be?
I actually do not. The reason I chose this book is because it's just a continuation of that I guess episode 3, the prequel.
Revenge of the Sith, yeah.
Yeah, the best one.
The best one. So, I wanted to, I guess, continue on with that story because it's so well known, but I'm not exactly 100% sure how this book in particular came out. Like you said, there's many copies or many versions of what happens after, but not this one. I do not know.
Yeah,
As far as I can tell, this is the one that people are like, this is the Star Wars Darth Vader book
Yes.
that we're considering as canon.
that is, yeah, and I think this might have been the first Darth Vader comic after Disney acquired the rights to Lucasfilm. I don't know that,
Yeah, it's
but I think it might be, and that's why it's considered canon. And this introduced some stuff in the new Star Wars canon that people don't like. I'm kind of indifferent about. But honestly, Michael, the way you were just kind of describing it is the reason this book exists. Like Charles Soule refers to this story as a Baby Vader, Volume 1, because it is about that moment immediately after Revenge of the Sith. He picked that moment specifically to take us on this journey of what he thinks. Okay, Anakin Skywalker is officially dead at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Got the suit and everything. Darth Vader is like this Darth Vader that we've known as the Terror of the Galaxy by the original trilogy. Where's the in-between stuff?
Yeah.
So he wanted
'cause-
to go down that path and see what made Vader into what we know him as when you get to A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Vader year one, like
Yes.
a Batman year one.
Exactly. And I like it a lot because it really ties into a lot of other ideas that have come out recently. Like, and you guys can help me out. The newish Star Wars game that came out.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes, that one.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
some stuff in there.
Yeah, so some
characters.
Yeah, some of the stuff, some of the characters in this these next couple issues that we're going to be discussing, tie into that. They really lead it on, and then it really kind of shows the growth into that that terror of the galaxy, like you said, because a lot of people just think, okay, well, Anakin was the best of the best, and then he fell, and he's suddenly the best of the best here, and that wasn't the case. There was a period of struggle. There was an he had to adapt to his new armor, his new fighting style, the new ways of doing things, because he wasn't part of the Jedi Order anymore. He was a Sith, 100% Sith.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of I consider them Easter eggs because not a lot of people know about them that are in this transition. So
Yeah, I think that's the best stuff for... See, the thing with Darth Vader is, and I feel like this is kind of universally agreed upon, but he works best as this force of nature that just kind of shows up and just fucks everyone over. And out of nowhere, like that... The reason people love... what is that spinoff movie? Rogue One?
Rogue One.
The reason they love that movie as much as they do, one of the reasons they love it as much as they do, is because of that Darth Vader scene at the very end where he just shows up in the hallway and kills a bunch of guys.
Oh, and you finally get to see, you're like, oh, you see this guy, and he doesn't look that special. He's just got like a menacing mask and a cape, and it's like he can't be that good, surely.
No.
And just like absolutely destroys people, and you're like, well, shoot, maybe I should be scared of the funny mask guy.
Well, I mean, there's also this concept that, you know, real world, Star Wars world. I mean, if you really want to include some like cyberpunk type, cybernetics enhance the human body, or are supposed to enhance the human body. And at this point, Anakin Skywalker went from being all flesh, muscle, bone to almost completely robotic, minus his torso and his head.
Yeah.
And you start wondering, at what point can you really stop considering this an enhancement? And this comic does a very good job of really highlighting the deficiencies. And then later on, you realize how well, you know, Darth Vader capitalized on putting those aside. Like, he did not let this stop him from being a menace, you know, or a terror or anything like that.
Yeah, he just doesn't get to do the cool lightning powers because he'll short circuit his arms and legs and stuff.
He's more of a first choke.
I know, he just likes this.
He does like the little one finger choke. He's a big fan. Yeah.
Hey, wait, can I do something real quick?
Sure.
All right. Which Star Wars character works at a restaurant?
That one. There's the one guy in the diner from the Attack of the Clones.
No,
Dexter.
It's Darth Vader.
Dang it.
I knew this was a joke.
I know, but like, can we agree that I'm technically not wrong?
I mean, I guess so. That sounds
Kenobi's
right.
contact.
Yeah, the guy with the arms. Yeah.
Honestly, taking a break to talk about the drink real quick.
Oh,
before we
go for
get
it,
too far in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed your perfect segue. That's how subtle it was.
Oh yeah, there wasn't one. I just stopped midstream actually.
Yeah. So we are having a drink because we do that too, Higgins. You're right.
God, are we ever, man? This one's biting me in the butt, folks.
Well,
You're getting a loose episode today, I'll tell you.
Well, that's the thing, Higgins. People don't know this, but we typically record during the week where we have responsibilities the next day, so we don't get to
At least a little bit.
Yeah, but there was that one time that we didn't.
Yeah.
And this is a similar time. I'm guessing is what's going to happen.
I'm
You
I
do
don't
have a
know.
wedding to go to,
I know, I might make like something else, but
Michael. I don't think he's going to make it to that wedding.
well, if David drives me, I'll be there. But yeah, we had a drink and it's called the Darth Vader cocktail because Google.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, and so it's got everything, folks. It's basically a Long Island, is what it sounds like.
Higgins, I feel like you never give yourself enough credit. Yes, Google does give you the listing, but you have to type words in.
You also make the drink.
I mean,
And
I had
it
to
was-
think of the words to type in to Google it. So
I mean, Google's not buying the alcohol that we're using to make the drink that they find.
how was I
If
supposed to
anything-
know that when I typed in Darth Vader cocktail, a Darth Vader cocktail was going to show up? Who knew?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's always a risk. You know? Yeah. You could have
I would've
gotten
had-
something much worse.
I would have had to type in other words. But this one, this drink's one of probably our strongest one. It's only liquor, which we've had a few of those, but it's only liquor.
Yep, a lot of liquor. What liquor we have in that?
We have vodka, gin. We got tequila. We got light rum, and then we have some triple sec.
We do.
And you mix that all together and then splash some Jaeger on top of that.
This is the first Jaeger we've had on the podcast.
This is the first Jaeger we've had on the podcast and the first tequila.
It is the first tequila, yeah. Not the first rum, but we did get a rum of choice by Michael. What is it again?
And my go-to rum is Don Q, Puerto Rican rum.
It might be my favorite now too. I do love me some Don Q.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Man, I really don't touch liquor that hard when we're not recording, guys. I'm more of a beer boy, but
You're responsible. I get it.
yeah.
But how you feel about the rum?
The rum's good. I had a shot of it last night.
You had a shot of what rum?
Don Q.
Yes, 3 times.
Now we're sponsored. That's
Second
right.
sponsor. Okay.
We all said it. But this drink's delightful, folks. Like it should not taste as good as it does.
It's
For
surprisingly smooth considering the amount of liquor that's.
I think if I took a straight shot of like any of those things separately, it wouldn't be good. But for whatever reason, in this exact configuration, it's like, this is fine.
Yeah, the force is strong in this one.
Very good.
Yeah.
He's brought it back. Brought back to the book. If unless you have more to say about the drink.
No. I just one more joke to close us out.
Huh.
Why did Anakin Skywalker cross the road?
To get to the other planet.
Get to the dark side.
Damn it.
I thought it had something to do
I
with
figured that was a
background.
good way to segue into the fact that we are going to be talking more about
his fall.
Calling that
Yeah.
a joke is a generous term, don't you?
I mean, it's a. I didn't laugh, but like it said it was a joke, so I.
I mean,
I
you
used
didn't
it.
play a laugh track for me, so how was I supposed to know it
What do
was
you-
funny?
What do you call a potato that's turned to a dark side? This one's pretty easy.
Darth Tater?
Yeah, Darth Tater.
Okay.
That's pretty good. All right,
I'm
let's
glad
get
you
back.
got it.
I think I've heard that one before, if I'm honest. Pretty good. That's probably like a Mr. Potato Head name, where it came with the Darth Vader
They have
accessories.
they actually for sure do have a Darth Tater, and that's gonna be our promo picture.
Very good. Well, enough about Darth Tater. Let's move back over to Darth Vader. We were talking about Michael was talking about his suit and kind of how I think it's the best character development in this first volume is getting to watch him figure out his new environment and his new handicap. Essentially, like you're right. Typically, cybernetics in this kind of genre are like you want them. Like people opt into them most of the time. He didn't opt into this because he lost all his legs and arms and such, but it's what he's got. He's angry. He doesn't have anything else to focus on. I think that's the best thing about setting this immediately after Revenge of the Sith. You have like one panel where it shows his point of view as Anakin or Darth Vader before the Darth Vader suit, but he's choking Padme just to go like, hey, this is what's in his head. And now he's got this guy who it's the reason he's in this mess in the first place. Now telling him, hey, there's still so much to do. I know we promised that we'd save your wife, but my bad, kind of your bad. Anyway,
yeah, kind of your bad. You
let's
did
focus
kill her.
on let's focus on what I think is important. And he's just so over it that he just goes along with it because he
Well,
lost everything. So
And
he
also, at this point in time, like we were talking about before, he's not as powerful. Emperor Palpatine is still by and far stronger than him at this point.
I don't think for me, with Palpatine in anything, he's just this kind of, like he's an asshole who used his wits to trick other people into giving him power. Like that's how all the prequels end up, like that's what it culminates to. And even with this, Vader is weak, he is vulnerable, but I feel like only for a little bit. And so Palpatine sees that weakness and he manipulates it because he doesn't want Darth Vader turning on him. I think if Darth Vader genuinely wanted to kill him, and in fact, we kind of see an instance where that could happen, he could at any point. But he knows that he might not be able to beat him in a one-on-one fight, but he can beat him in a different way by getting in his head.
Yeah, Palpatine is just a politician to me.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's almost like this, he's playing head games with Vader the entire time. And you're right, Darth Vader, to me, Darth Vader could snap at any moment and just kill Palpatine and take over. But Palpatine is always, either through Force lightning or just his words, he's always just saying, you need to do this because otherwise you'll never get strong. You're not where you think you are.
Yes.
I'm
like
always going to be up here. You're always going to be down here. You need me.
You haven't even figured out how to use the dark side yet.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Well, especially here, like right when he's starting, he's like, hey, like you said, I know that you just lost everything, but you have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Which you can tell, like in Giuseppe Camicoli's drawings, like this was all part of his plan. Like everything that happened, he probably didn't know exactly what was going to happen on Mustafar with Obi-Wan and Padme, but I feel like he had so many just plans in place to just go off either whatever happened. He was ready, and that is what makes him compelling as a villain in the Star Wars universe. Is he knows how to use people, and he just so happened to trick the most powerful man in the galaxy, force-wise anyway. But also, that's not that hard because, as we know from the prequels, he's just a big whiny baby.
But
Anakin
Snoop, he's
Skywalker.
got all those midi-chlorians.
I know.
He's got so many midi-chlorians.
Look at you talking Star Wars. And you're not even a big Star Wars fan.
I've noticed that in any of the like prequel era media, Anakin Skywalker as a character is always way more interesting, and I guess how he was supposed to be in the actual movies. He's always more interesting in other media besides the main films, because like the Clone Wars series, the animated one, that's the Anakin Skywalker that you always hear about, how he's so charming and intelligent and resourceful.
Yeah, I think they just gave him. I think Hayden Christensen just had himself some bad lines. I mean, like, because I've seen him in Jumper. He can act.
The writing in the prequels is pretty
Just
like
dull.
it's rough, but
It's just dull.
when you're having to act across Ian McGregor, who's just He's one of the greats, in my
dreamboat?
opinion. Yeah. It already makes you look bad. And Hayden Christensen is good in certain things. Like, I like a jumper, you know?
Yeah.
I like that one movie where he hangs himself in the closet and maybe jumps off a cliff or whatever. It's something about a house.
Is that the lake house?
That's the lake house thing, yeah.
That might be.
I love all of that, but I don't like him as Anakin Skywalker. I like the character of Anakin Skywalker. So when you get glimpses of him in like this comic, and because I know that Darth Vader is technically the only one left at this point, but for me, there's like just those little hints of that past Anakin that come through in this first volume that I do like to see.
Yeah. Well, first, I'll go ahead and disagree with you. I love the casting for the prequels. And I think I'll agree a little bit more with Higgins over here that the dialogue was actually with both of you. The dialogue was a little rough, but the focus for the prequels is, I think, more fighting scenes than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the sequels, on the other hand, not so much on the fighting scenes, but I can see where the strength is in dialogue. Maybe not so too great of a story, but
you mean the sequel trilogy, like the newer ones? Okay.
Yeah. So like there's definitely better writing in the sequel trilogy that just came out. I'm still not a huge fan of the story itself, but you know, the acting great, the fight scenes can't even compare them to the prequels.
Yeah.
So
I will admit that even though I always kind of talk crap on Hayden Christensen in that role, I can't really think of anyone else who at that time would have kind of been a much better fit, I guess. Like, I'm sure there is someone I'm not thinking of, but
there's not.
It does work in its own way, just because I do think of it's almost like, you know, like when you see a famous person in a movie and you're just like, they're so famous that all I see is that famous person.
Yeah, like Wolverine.
Yeah, like a Hugh Jackman. Yeah, like I do see Anakin Skywalker in those movies. Like, I don't see Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
I also see a plank of wood in certain scenes, but you know, I'm sure that's just a stand-in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I like kind of getting this inner turmoil in this first volume with Vader kind of wrestling with what's his new purpose now that he lost everything. He doesn't really want to be alive, but he's also just so angry and bitter at this point that he's trying to find purpose through those means. And there's like a line from Palpatine who basically kind of tells him to do that. You know, he's like, use the dark side to reach out. It will guide you to where you need to go, because this whole first volume is about to officially become his apprentice, he needs to build a new lightsaber. But the catch is he has to take a lightsaber from a Jedi and then corrupt the crystal. Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole Sith tradition is that Jedis build their lightsabers, Sith take their lightsabers.
Yeah.
So he has to earn it through battle.
Yeah.
Without one too. So like, luckily he can do a good force chokey and pull and push and all that jazz, right?
I think that's the best kind of action wise. I think this sets up a really lot of good fights in this first volume because he doesn't already have a lightsaber.
It's probably much easier to draw a force fight than it is to draw a lightsaber fight too. Because like, I mean, there'd be a lot more movement and like flashes of color and stuff if you do lightsaber fights.
Yeah, which you do get a bit of in this first volume still, because even though he doesn't have his lightsaber, he does.
And he steals that purple pokey that they use in the
It's like for training.
It's a training saber.
that you get in the game, or that they have in the game. That's related to this comic too.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's related because it's Star Wars?
No,
That makes sense.
So like the hard part about him finding these Jedis, that's the part that connects it, is that Order 66 happened at the end of Revenge of the Sith, where they killed all the Jedi, or as much as they could.
Yeah.
See, guys, I know stuff.
Yeah, because they killed a bunch, and then the rest that escaped went into hiding.
They went into hiding, and then the Inquisitors which are like
They bookend it.
Yeah, they're just like, they're in the middle somewhere, and they're tasked with killing the remaining Jedi.
Yeah.
So that they can have like full control finally.
I don't know if, because at this point the Inquisitors they kind of pop up in everything, and I've always, like with the Fallen Order game, that's a pretty big focus, is the Inquisitors.
They're the bosses.
I don't think this is where that concept popped up at. I think it was around the same time. Maybe Rebels did it first, the animated show. But this does introduce some things into the Star Wars universe. Like, I'm pretty sure, because before it was just like, before Disney bought it, the canon was, you get a crystal, it's just that color. So if you were a Sith, you had to go find a red crystal. Well, now it's kind of tied to like more emotions through the Force, because to get a red crystal, which Darth Vader has been tasked with getting, he has to take a Jedi's lightsaber and corrupt the crystal with his anger and hatred and pain to turn it crimson. And I know some people don't like that element now. I kind of enjoy it just because it does play more into that. Like, the thing about the dark side for me with the Star Wars stuff is it's been so vague for so long as far as like what is considered the dark side. Because like for, some people say that like Mace Windu, he kind of teetered the line between light and dark. It's like, yeah, but how? Because like if he's force choking someone, how does that make him any better than someone, Darth Vader doing it? And so kind of diving into this element of, no, you just have to be really, really angry and just full of hate all the time. Because I imagine that's why it's always red, right? Like, they don't just do it once and then it's fine. They have to continuously, like, feed their anger into this crystal.
Yeah. I like to think that it's a little bit of a mixture because, like you said, it's very vague, and then there's different mediums that kind of do it a different way. Like, for example, the old video games, Knights of the Old Republic, certain force powers were associated from pulling from different sides of the Force.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you had your different colored crystals, and that was it. And then now, like you said, it's the whole corruption thing. And then, now it's the whole corruption thing. But then the other thing you gotta think of is not every Sith had a red lightsaber either. So I think it's a mixture of the two. And I think it's mostly because the rule of two is in place. It's a lot more of a passage or a trial of passage for Vader, to do it this way instead of just finding a different colored crystal.
Yeah, it's his first test as a true Sith. Yeah.
So,
it's a Darth Vader coming of age story.
Exactly.
If you will.
Baby Vader to adult Vader.
That's pretty, it's nice.
But I think that if there were more Sith and like they're like just a plethora, like just when the Sith came back in the Old Republic days, that they were more inclined to just finding different colored crystals and calling it a day.
Okay.
You know, but now that, like I said, the rule of two is in place and it's just master and apprentice for who knows how long, I think that trial of passage is just there. But that's just my guess.
No, that makes perfect sense, and it plays off an idea that they kind of start in this first volume. And I haven't finished this series. I read it like a year ago, up to the point it had released, or no, yeah, something like that. But a lot of it is, as far as the relationship between Palpatine and Vader, is that you go into this different take on the mentor-apprentice relationship, because we know what that is like with the Jedi. We've seen 3 movies about it. Even Higgins saw them.
Yeah, I saw him.
He saw all of them. He loved Revenge of the Sith, his favorite Star Wars film.
My favorite Star Wars movie.
He loves it. But we don't really get a lot
I saw it in theaters.
That is pretty good.
Yeah, it was for someone's birthday. I was like 8, I think.
I saw about a fourth of Revenge of the Sith before I actually saw it in theaters, because the Revenge of the Sith PS2 video game had in-movie cutscenes to get you through the game.
I was young, but not too young.
It's just we were young and naive back then.
I know.
Yeah.
I just like it when they do the cool lightsaber things. And when he killed those kids, that's pretty good too, right?
Oh my god.
Nothing better than a nice kid murder on a Saturday morning,
I know.
What was I saying? I was got me distracted. What I was saying though, what I like about this series that Charles Soule is really doing is we're getting more insight into how a Sith teacher goes about teaching a Sith apprentice.
He kind of just points him in a direction and says, go do your thing, figure it out.
It's almost like he's setting him up to fail. And I think that that's just supposed to be common with the Sith teachings, because if you're not able to rise up to my challenge,
then maybe I should find somebody else.
Exactly. And because I know the big thing.
Well, there's a rule of 2, right?
Yeah, so Michael, do you want to explain the rule of 2 for anyone who might not know what that is?
Yeah, so the rule of 2 is basically at some point the Sith were just enormous in number, and it got confusing to the point where nobody knew who was in charge. This was post Dark Council. Basically, I cannot remember the name of the Darth who implemented it.
It would have been Bane, I think.
Bane was the one that said, you know what, now from now on it's just one master, one apprentice, and that's it. Everybody else is just kind of, they don't matter.
Yeah.
And then so when a master dies, the apprentice becomes the master and chooses somebody else that's, capable. But they always exercise or they hold true to the Sith code. And that's kind of what makes the rule 2 work, because if they were lenient or if they were, inclined to allow weakness that the Jedi showed, then it would fall apart.
It's like at the end of the day, like the Sith like leaders and masters, they're in it for their own personal gain. So if there was ever more than like 2, there would be like constant like
and that's
mutinous behavior happening.
That's what happened at some point way back in the Old Republic. The Emperor at the time went silent, and the Dark Council, who was supposed to act in the Emperor's behalf, started just bickering amongst themselves for power, and eventually just got out of hand to the point where the Sith were just constantly fighting with each other. There was really no hope of them winning the battle against the Republic if they were too busy killing each other. So then the Rule 2 was initiated, and basically that master and apprentice lead the forefront fight to, against enemies. So, but back to the way that the teachings happen, the way or the reason why most of the teaching occurs more of a like thrown to the wolves, figure it out yourself, is because they want to build on that struggle. The entire Sith code is a building block from passion to strength, strength to power, power to victory. So if there's no struggle, there's no way they can climb that ladder.
And then I like the idea, I'm going to put him up against this guy that he probably doesn't know he's going to fight. And if he gets beat, then maybe he shouldn't be my apprentice anyways.
And they kind of even allude to that being the case, because at the end of this volume, it sets up the Inquisitor program, which are just, they're not true Sith. It took me a little bit to get my head wrapped around this, but basically the Inquisitors are Jedi who were once Jedi, and they were tortured to the point where they give into the dark side, but they're not recognized as being Sith. It's kind of like, it's a hierarchy thing. It's just, you're not as good as me. You might use the dark side of the Force, but you don't hold a candle to me. And he sends the main Inquisitor, Darth Sidious sends the main Inquisitor to attack Darth Vader, and Darth Vader crushes him, which I really enjoy that it's not even a close fight, but he does mention to Palpatine, he's like, hey, if he had beaten me, you probably would have just gotten that guy to be your new student, huh? And he doesn't like say yes or no, but he clearly would have done that.
He's like, he said, do you think you were going to lose? And Vader was like, nah, probably not, but like, I don't know. It's
not cool,
fishy.
bro.
Not cool, bro.
Well, I mean, I think at that point, and we kind of jumped really all the way to the last issue. At that point,
we jump around. It's
yeah, he had already found himself at that point. So if you guys recall, so the first issue,
he already got his lightsaber by that point.
Yeah, the first, and by getting his lightsaber and beating that Jedi Master, that was the tipping point. He was no longer fighting the old Anakin. He was Darth Vader 100%. But that first issue, it was just more of Palpatine telling him what he needed to do. He goes out into this desert world, just uses the Force to make the Sand People slaughter look like playtime. And then the second issue was when the hunt started. He found out who he had to fight. He actually, before that, I'm going to capitalize a little bit on the amount of rage this guy had, right? So he was so angry, right? And keep in mind that when Order 66 happened, they didn't just replace the clones, or they were at least in the process of replacing the clones with stormtroopers. But the clones were still on their side. They're still fighting for the Empire, or the Galactic Empire. So Darth Vader is so pissed off at the world that he goes to this archive to find out information about this Jedi Master that is guarded by clones. And as he's approaching, the droid on his ship is like, hey, I had the landing codes. Do you want me to transport it so that, you don't have any trouble? Right?
It's like, nah.
He's like, nah, I got this. But
I think I'm going to kill these guys.
Yeah, he annihilates them, just butchers them outright. And then he just goes on about his business. It's just, he has so much pent up anger that he just said, you know what? I'm just going to, put my pilot skills to the test, kill everybody in the air, land, kill everyone there, and then just keep doing what I'm doing. And him being who he is, he didn't even probably get a slap on the wrist. He's just Darth Vader.
Well, it's just like any other crime show or something like that, where like one of the lower folks like mess up even slightly. Like the big boss just comes and shoots them in the head and they drop dead, and it's like, now we just get a new guy.
Yep.
It's like, we'll just grab another one.
There's a bit of a side note. Did you guys get the issue that had kind of like, is after the very last issue, there's like a little mini comic about Darth Vader and a mouse droid?
We said we didn't read it. I just skimmed through it. It's pretty good.
It's fucking funny because it's just that. It's literally what you just said. It's just Darth Vader choking people that upset him for the dumbest reasons, and then the mouse droid has to like, because the mouse droid are like the weird little like RC car things from the original movies.
Yeah.
So it just is like, hey, get this body out of here. And so it's just constantly dragging corpses out of the room. And then at the very end, I think he's like, oh, you never let me down, mouse droid. And then he accidentally bumps into him.
It's like,
and he just crushes him. It's so funny. It's just so funny and dumb. It's like, it's drawn like an old newspaper strip.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure I brought attention to that.
No, it's
so good.
So yeah, after he does that slaughter and he lands in that desert world to go find the Jedi Master, you know, he's just using the Force, and he finds the Jedi Master. He kills his droid, takes his like little toy saber, the little training saber.
God, and this Jedi Master's just so absolutely jacked.
Yeah, he is
absolutely jacked?
Yeah, absolutely jacked.
He is just monstrous, and he beats Darth Vader outright. And it kind of, to me, that kind of just, it shows this is what Anakin could have been if he stayed in the light. So,
and then luckily Anakin / Darth Vader is a bad boy.
Yeah, so
he's gonna cheat.
It's not really cheating. It was more tactics and everything.
Yeah,
else.
I mean, he broke.
Well, he came back for round 2, right? Because this whole first volume is about Darth Vader building himself back up, and so he balances that so well because we don't want to see Darth Vader as weak at any point. People just don't want to read a weak Darth Vader. And so you start out with, he's not really used to the suit, we know that, but he immediately has to, like I think they left him a ship, but they left it in a place where obviously a bunch of bandits were going to steal it. So he has to walk across the desert, finds them, murders like 20 people in like 5 minutes, and then he gets the ship back. And then we go to that Jedi who has spent the last like couple decades, it sounds like, just training to fight.
Yeah,
and
he whips his
ass.
What's the Basher, the
Rasher vow or something like that? It's basically
Basha?
When a Jedi says that he has done wrong and he's going to isolate himself and he's not going to respond to anything the council says. But he's still part of the Jedi Order.
I took that as he just wanted to go on a bit of a sabbatical.
He's gray. Am I just assuming that he's an alien?
Yeah, he's an alien.
He's a species, yeah. But yeah, so to me, that was what Anakin was supposed to be. If he would have stayed with the Jedi Order, he would have been the best duelist. And this guy is the best duelist.
Yeah.
So you go, best duelist versus, cybernetic force engine. And first round, Jedi Master wins. He comes back for the second round. Higgins says he cheated. I say it was a fair fight.
He just broke his dam a little bit. He did typical villain stuff. It's like, I'm gonna hang a lady off a building and then also try to either run away and or kill you, and you got to choose which one you're okay with happening. And by hang a lady off a building, I mean break a dam and ruin a whole town.
Well, he knew the Jedi Master was, his weakness was compassion.
Yeah.
And so he decided that he was just going to target civilians. And the moment he did, Jedi Master took his eyes off. Darth Vader grabbed him with the Force choke from the back of the neck and said, "Watch as I kill everybody," and then snapped his neck and drowned him.
Yeah. And I think that kind of, to that point, I don't necessarily consider it cheating because Darth Vader at that point didn't consider it cheating. He just thought this is how Sith fight. Yeah. And so in his world, that is fair.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
but you could take it at that point and say, if he hadn't done that, he probably wouldn't have won. And I think he
already lost the fairway.
Exactly.
So he had to come back the other way, and he's like, I need this lightsaber.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be the best that I'm going to be, I need this lightsaber.
It's a good progression for a character that we knew transforming into another character that we all know, because Anakin Skywalker in the prequels, like early on, and Darth Vader, they're two different beasts, and you always wonder, like, how did this happen? And Charles Soule does a really good way of introducing us to this change in this person. And I didn't, like, to the point where he made it, the Darth Vader suit that we see in the original trilogy isn't the same Darth Vader suit that we get at the end of Revenge of the Sith, because that Jedi basically destroys him, like arms, legs, and all.
Oh,
and he kind of has to, I think it's a good kind of callback to Anakin being, you know, the tech guy, because he uses the Force to build an arm and leg out of the droid he destroyed earlier.
While he's like floating in a tank.
Yes, and he does it to build the original trilogy suit, I guess.
Yeah.
At the end of the volume, and this whole series is just going to be about him figuring out how he does things now. Like, you even have little like minuscule things that I really appreciated, like when he first gets on that one desert planet to go find a spaceship, he has to switch between like different visors, and we get to see that from his perspective. We get to see, and they do that a little bit in Revenge of the Sith at the end, where you see what Darth Vader sees, and you're like, well, of course this guy's a lunatic. Like, if I saw everything in like this weird, gross red color, I'd go insane too.
Yeah.
And then you find out that he can do blue and purple.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Well, maybe he can just do blue and red, and then he does both at the same time, because that's how you make purple.
Do you think he has a colorblind option?
I don't know. That he doesn't strike me as the guy to be handicap accessible. I don't know, for whatever reason.
There's this scene in there that I found really interesting. This has to do a lot with the corruption of the crystal. I imagine that when they're talking about, or when they address the Kyber crystal, it's an item of the light side, and when he corrupts it, it's almost like the crystal is trying to plead him not to do it. So that's where the vision comes in of, you know, what would happen if he's stopped what he was doing right there, returned to the light, and went to go kill the Emperor, and he succeeds, finds Obi-Wan Kenobi, and all is well in the world.
I know, right? I was very confused when the vision thing started happening. But
then it kind of cuts back to it like, okay, no, I'm not going to do this. He corrupts the crystal, puts it in his lightsaber, he succeeds in his mission. And I thought that scene was probably the coolest in all the issues.
I did really like that scene for that same reason. It's that, you know, it's that what could have been, and it's just this quick little glimpse, and that works really well for me, because I'm always that person that just, with a character like this, after I know what they've been through and why they're in the position they're in, it's like, well, man, why couldn't he get that happy ending? Kind of like, it's not a happy ending, but it's like he turned back on his own. He kind of made up for what he had done, and then I think the vision ends with him finding Obi-Wan on like a random planet, and
Tatooine.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, I wish, like, in a different timeline, I wish I could have seen that play out more. But obviously that's not the case, and his anger is just too much. Like, he's lost too much as a person to even consider going down that path, and so he's able to corrupt the crystal, which is basically just corrupting another life. And I do like that element of this new Star Wars canon, that it just adds a little something to like that connection, because before, the thing about a lightsaber is it was just tech, you know, in the older stuff. So it's like anyone could really have this thing. As long as you get one, you can, you know, technically be a Jedi or whatever. But they've added another element to it that kind of strengthens that relationship between a specific lightsaber and the person wielding it, which they always made a big deal about in the prequels. Obi-Wan's just like, don't, that's your life. Don't lose that.
Yeah.
But having this little bit in there, that makes that make more sense.
Yeah.
So
also,
he's just losing it all over the place, isn't he? He's just losing his lightsaber all over the place before, right?
It's like it's a Skywalker thing, because I'm pretty sure Luke loses his lightsaber a couple times.
Yeah.
Just can't keep up with it.
I mean, I thought it was on my right side, and it was on my left side. I got scared for a little bit.
Damn, it was in my back pocket, and I sat on it. It's broken.
Oh, man. Side note, just kind of an I told you so to Palpatine, because anyway, same tricks don't work twice. He tried doing that spinny thing he did with Mace Windu. Yeah.
I had that same like vision in my head when he jumps up in the vision, I guess, to fight him. He does the little lick spin. And again, that comes back to that point that we were talking about, where Darth Vader could crush him if he really wanted to, but he's just so beaten down and easy to just manipulate that that's the edge the Emperor has.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about their dynamic to me. It always has been for me. Yeah, I think it's I think it's very approachable as a comic as well.
It's also a very quick read too. So,
yes.
The books that you guys have been reading, like the last episode, like the Uzumaki, pretty thick boy right there. But these 6 issues, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
That's about how long it took me to read it before you got here.
Yeah, so
I don't know how long it took me. I mean, it might have took me like 30 minutes, but I was also like reading it in bed.
Yeah, you were taking your time, and
I was sleepy.
Yeah, it only took you 30 minutes. Like when I first read as much as I did of the series, I think I read 15 issues in a little over a couple hours, maybe. Like it didn't take long at all, and it's just because it has the amount of dialogue that I want out of a Star Wars book. It's got, I'm learning some things. I'm learning about this weird little ritual that guy took. That's a new thing for me. I'm learning about kyber crystals. Like, it is adding more to the Star Wars universe, but I think Charles Soule and Giuseppe Camuncoli, like, they know what people kind of want out of Star Wars most of the time, and that is kind of this, it's a fun action romp, and we'll throw in some heavy themes, but the action is what's going to kind of push us along.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so many fights, because we want to see Darth Vader chop up some dudes and force choke everybody in the room.
So I will admit this. Before, I guess, Rogue One happened, before I actually got into the comic series, Darth Vader was not my favorite character. I thought that, the fall of Anakin was actually very tragic because, the Star Wars universe lost the duelist and was left with this robot.
Yeah.
But then the fight scene at the end of Rogue One really put his new, I guess, fighting style into perspective. And then the comic books does him a lot more justice. And I kind of understand now why he's this, one to be feared, this grim reaper of a being for the rest of the, galaxy. So now that I've actually like gotten into, the comic book strand, even some of the books, the newer books, that mentioned Darth Vader, I think I like him a lot more. So I don't know. Just I think this is a very good continuation of episode 3, and then for those people that don't count the sequels as part as the sequel trilogy as part as canon, then I mean it's a very good point to branch out of, from where it ends.
I think we're gonna get a lot. I mean, this is wrapped up at this point. The series as a whole. I think there's actually
25 issues,
okay,
I think it's got,
yeah,
and an annual. So
got to get to the annual Higgins at one point. But
yeah.
I think now there's a new Darth Vader series that just started maybe last year, and I think we're going to keep getting more after that. And there's been a lot before what Charles Soule wrote. I think that anyone who was slightly interested in reading a Star Wars comic book, this is one of the ones I would recommend straight up, because it plays out the movies. People are like, oh, well, I watch the movies. I like the movies. You don't have to know anything going into that at that point. And it's breezy. It doesn't take long to read. There's some good character moments, good action. It does show off Darth Vader's fighting style, and his fighting style is just, he's a tank. Like,
yeah,
you throw anything you want at this guy, he's just going to power through it and then chop you up or give you a choke. Talking about other books, I read a book, I guess it would have been like a few years ago, an actual book, like without pictures. I was proud of myself.
Wow.
Get out of town.
I know. I don't do it that often, and I probably won't do it ever again, if I'm honest. But he gets hit with like a ship at one point, just shrugs it off. He's fine. And then he just kills the guy that hit him with a ship.
Yep.
Like he's an annoying little gnat. And that's the Darth Vader that I like seeing. But I like with this book, I do get more kind of look into, like, man, this guy's just sad.
Yeah, I don't know at what point I started feeling sorry for Vader, but there's, you definitely go from oh my god, this guy's a really angry boy, to like, oh man, I wish I could help him.
Yeah.
And then you realize that he if you don't help him right away, he's probably gonna kill you anyway. So
yeah, it's just best to keep away from him, honestly. Yeah. Pretty good, methinks. You guys, anything else you want to say?
No.
Man, the build-up was definitely there. Yeah.
No, I'm just I'm glad I got to read this, because it I don't know, just put things into perspective for me. It was a good read.
It was a good read. You gonna go read the rest of it, you think?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna finish it up before you guys do.
Oh, there's no doubt. I'll probably will finish it, because I'm pretty sure all of it's on Comixology now.
Yeah.
For free, or sort of free. Anyway, No, I like it. I recommend it. I would love to give it a rating, but I'm gonna let Higgins do that first.
All right, I'm gonna give it Order 66.
A hamburger with cheese.
Yeah,
That's it.
made out of the kids. Yeah, I just picked the thing
Wow.
that the number was. I just picked the.
Made
I
of-
just found a number and I said it.
Made of younglings.
I don't know if that's really a good thing though.
That's why it's his favorite. That's why that one's his favorite movie, because those kids get murdered.
Oh
Chop
my
chop chop chop
god.
chop chop.
That poor little kid with the ponytail.
Master
I mean, like,
Skywalker, there's too
maybe it-
many. What do we do?
Maybe if I had met these kids before, maybe if I cared about them, I would be like, "It's really sad they died. Oh no." But
Going back to the PS2 version of the Revenge of the Sith movie video game tie-in,
when you got to slice them,
there's a secret level where you play as Anakin Skywalker and you get to go to the Jedi Temple, and there's some Jedi that you can just completely destroy because they're
That's
young
pretty
children.
good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. Yeah, it's also an alternate ending where what if the high ground wasn't too high?
Yeah, I saw that one,
Yeah.
and he basically just takes over the Empire right away.
He just kills the Emperor after he gives him a lightsaber. That's the problem. He gave him his red lightsaber. He didn't learn to appreciate it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
See, that's why the trial exists.
Yeah, I'm glad we learned a lesson here today. All right, so you're giving it that. I am going to give it just as much fun as the PS2 version of the movie tie-in game Revenge of the Sith.
oh, that's pretty good.
It's a great game, if I'm honest. Oh, you can give a rating. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no,
I didn't know.
I thought there was more after that.
No, I need I say more? Honestly,
I'm actually I'm not sure what to give it because I'm stuck between 4 out of 5 kyber crystals and 20 dead clones. So I mean, just
may I help?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it sounds like to me like you want to give it.
4 out of 5 kyber crystals on top of 20 dead clones.
Yeah, that's more or less
Okay,
what I was going to
yeah.
say. So yeah, it's perfect.
That
Higgins is
works. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so all in all,
Our ratings.
I hope they realize this is clapping and not something else.
yeah. No, I'll keep it.
I'll turn it up.
Good. Well, we're about done here.
Yeah. We'll slide on over to everybody's favorite segment.
Yeah, well, so last episode we did something where we talked about what we were going to do next episode, and then we did this new segment.
Oh, is that right?
That is what we did. I didn't know if you want to do that again.
Hey man, if that's what we did, that sounds great. I
Okay.
don't remember from month to month.
Okay.
I have our next book pulled up
Oh,
on my screen.
excellent.
So everybody's favorite thing that we did at Christmas on the first year that we did the podcast, Claus.
What if Sexy Claus? Yeah,
What if sexy Claus?
yeah.
And how did he get there?
So much leather.
And so we decided that we wanted more. We came back for more. We wanted it.
Begged for it.
He made more, luckily, because otherwise we'd be out of luck.
Mm.
But this next little book that we're gonna do is Claus: The New Adventures of Santa Claus, which is both Claus and the Witch of the Winter and Claus: The Crisis in Xmasville in the same book.
Yeah,
And that's 128 pages, which is still on the lighter side for what we normally read.
This was 140 that we read roughly, so I think that should work. But you sound like you want to talk a little bit more. So what else did you have in mind?
That was it. Those are. I think we had initially said just the first thing, and that one was only 40 pages.
Oh yeah, no,
And I was like, let's do the bigger boy.
yeah, no, that's fine. That I was probably thinking of that, but I probably told you the shorter thing.
Yeah, this one's 120 some odd pages though.
Okay, cool. That's good. No, I'm excited about that.
It'll be good.
I really enjoyed Sexy Santa Claus.
It's from Boom Studios.
It is from Boom Studios.
Yeah.
Can't wait to do that again. Merry Christmas to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go on a little reindeer ride. See what Santa Claus has been up to in the past couple of years, and that'll be fun. That'll be the last podcast of the year for us, and we'll come back stronger than ever after that. In the meantime, though,
What do you call 5 Star Wars baddies piled on top of a lightsaber?
we're still doing jokes. I don't know.
A
What?
Sith kebab.
I do like that one.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
All right. Banana. Readings for squares.
Higgins, did you hear the theme music?
Oh, we're back, boys.
Mm-hmm. Charlie's shaking. It's just a normal day in the studio.
I know.
And
She
it's-
nails it every time.
She does, on cue. So that all that stuff means that we're about to do a segment of the show that Higgins calls Readings for Squares. Michael, you said you listen to the podcast. Appreciate that. You're on the podcast, and in this segment, we talk about things that aren't book related. We've been consuming in the media world.
Okay.
So start us off. What's going on?
Well, I know that you guys like keeping it kind of in the same realm. However, I have been kind of slacking on my Star Wars, items, but I have been watching Squid Games.
Oh yeah, man, it can be anything as long as it's not a book with words in it. That's the criteria for this segment.
So yeah, I've been watching Squid Games.
We watched that.
Yeah, I'm hooked.
Yeah,
it's a great show. The Koreans have been on point with their movies. I keep referencing Train to Busan a lot, but if you guys haven't watched that, it's great. Great.
I've heard movie. That's really good. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's good. They're making a sequel, I think, or they made a sequel.
They're remaking it. They're remaking an American version, which to me is just like, why? Just watch it.
No. There's an actual sequel though.
Really?
Yeah. Here, I'll look it up for you while you keep talking about Squid Game.
Squid Game is good. It's lucky because we decided not to talk about this last episode.
It's true, we did.
And so thank goodness we waited until now to talk about it.
Yeah, so that's really about it though. I'm only 2 episodes in though, because I'm trying not to binge watch it like I do everything else.
Oh, I've
burned
through it.
Yeah,
so far, I won't tell you anything.
My favorite character is that old man.
Oh, the old man.
Yeah,
a fun guy.
Yeah, he's just
In that first game when he's just so excited, he's like a little kid in a.
Yeah, I like to think that's gonna be me in a few years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, not a few, but like a lot of years. Just the old man that finds happiness in even the darkest places.
So I can hear New Cat. Very upset. We haven't mentioned New Cat on the podcast, but
yeah,
it's a new cat named New Cat.
Yeah, it's New Cat named New Cat. Yeah, he's okay.
What did the squid say when it was asked to watch the show Squid's Game?
No.
I'll link about it.
Nice.
You didn't think I had squid puns, did you guys?
I didn't.
No.
I thought you were tapped out at Star Wars.
Here I am.
Here you are. Peninsula is a standalone sequel to the 2016 film Train to Busan.
Really?
Yeah.
Peninsula.
It came out last year.
Interesting.
Around this time, actually.
I'm gonna have to look it up then.
Yeah. So I need to check out both of those. But I have checked out Squid Games. Not spoiling anything, because you should finish it and experience. I do want to ask you this because I've been talking with a bunch of people about it. How are you watching it? Like, is it dubbed? Are you watching it as is subbed?
As is, Korean and then English subs.
Okay, so
which I heard there's some backlash on the English subs for whatever reason.
They
and the dubs, I guess.
Yeah, they apparently took out a lot on the English dub.
I heard there's a specific English sub version. So you want to do either want to do English sub CC or not that.
Talking about that though, you watched the Korean version. Higgins and I watched the dubbed version, and it was only after I finished the dubbed version I thought the tone of the show is probably a lot different based on like the original language it was filmed in, because it's kind of campy in the English stuff. Like, there's still serious parts, like all the big plot points are still there, but just it's not even that the dub is bad. It's more the writing of the dub is bad, and so the lines they're having to deliver, I think it adds a certain kind of charm to the show. I
liked the dub.
Yeah.
I thought it was more fun. It made it less
it would have just been very like intense and depressing, I
feel.
feel.
Like it was pretty glum. Like some bad stuff was happening.
I heard, I haven't, switched over to dub, but I think they took a lot out of it. So, or I heard they took a lot out of it, so I stuck with the English or the Korean version just so I can get the most out of it.
I would be interested in maybe going back one day to watch that version of it just to see how the two hold up next to each other.
Honestly, when I sat down to watch it, I knew I was gonna be too tired to read my show, so I was just like, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and just watch it with my ears.
That is how you do your best watching. Yeah. I was kind of the same. It was a little bit of me being lazy. Like I said, I did enjoy the English dub for the reasons I did. This isn't spoiling anything in my opinion, because it's 2021, and so this is a show made on Netflix and they set it up for another season. That's all I will tell you. But me personally, and I want to talk to you about this after you finish it, off air, on air, it doesn't matter. How I get my content at the end of the day, it's fine. But I would like to see how you feel about a second season coming. It's not set in stone, but they do heavily like hint, hey, guess what's coming kind of thing. And
It just made so much money.
I think this is best as a one-off, honestly.
It really depends, because I could see a sequel or a second season if they use different characters. Because to me, like, if they use the same characters, then it's beating a dead horse.
Kind of like Death Race 1, 2, 3, and
Yeah, 'cause,
all the
I
other
mean,
ones. You got new people death racing. They can't have the same characters death racing because they're dying.
If there's death in the name, or if the idea is that everybody dies in the games, then everybody should die.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, they could always do that thing that the Hunger Games did, where they just did the Hunger Games again, but with all the people that won the previous Hunger Games.
And at the same time, like, this was all a voluntary thing, so who would be crazy enough to do it twice?
Yeah, I feel like
how would you blow the amount of money you're supposed to win at the end?
I don't know. I've seen like lots of things about people winning the lottery and then being broke like a year later because they don't know how to do money.
It's supposed to be, when you do the conversion, that's supposed to be like more money than a lot of these lotteries put together.
God, I looked it up every time this got brought up. I want to say like it.
How many won
the final prize is like 50 billion won or something, which equates to
like 459 million or something like that.
It's a lot. It's not a billion or whatever, but it's a lot.
Millions.
It might even be like only like 38, 40 million or something.
Something good though.
Someone else will look it up if they're listening to this and wondering how much is it? I want to say that 1 won or like 10 won. No, that's what it is. 1,000 won is equal to like less than $10, like $8, something.
Well, like it was like when he's doing the initial like slap fight thing, we were like, oh man, he's getting $100,000 to like play some slap game, and you find out that's like $80, and you're like, God, that's a lot of punishment he took for $85.
You know, I like to think of it as if I would do it, and I would do it. Like if someone said, "Hey, let's play this game," and then every time that you win, you get $80, and then like all of a sudden he just slaps me because I have no money. I'd be like, "Oh, you know what? You can slap me as much as I want. I'm gonna get my $80."
Yeah,
it's so funny. That was the funniest part of the show, I think, to me, was when he finally won and he went, like, instead of, like, asking for the money, he's like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to slap this guy now.
Well, I forgot all about the money, too.
I mean, you would, right?
Yeah.
If it was you, you'd be like, I'm going to slap the shit out of this man. Even if it's just once. But yeah, he does get, I think that the message is trying to tell, it focuses more on in the beginning of it. I think as it goes, it's just more about, like, look at the fun death games that's going on, that's what I wanted to watch, if I'm honest. But I think they do some pretty interesting stuff with that concept of people who have severe gambling addictions and why they're maybe put into those situations.
Yeah.
So there's a reason everyone's watching it. Like, it's got a little bit of everything for everybody. So yeah, good stuff. And now we've talked about it, Higgins, so we never have to talk about it again until Squid Games 2.
Oh man, should we do anything else, or do you think that's a good?
It's fine if this one goes a little longer. We've got a whole bunch of stuff.
It don't matter to me.
It never matters to me. Let's talk about one more thing.
All right, one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing. We'll tell Michael about a thing that one of us has been doing.
All right.
You can go if you got something in your head.
I mean, like, I'll talk about it. I don't know. I know you guys haven't watched any of it.
Charlie and the new cat, or dog and new cat, are having a disagreement. Okay, they're fine now.
I watched all 3 seasons of Yellowstone in a short amount of time, like less than a month probably, in anticipation for the season 4
of Yellowstone
that comes out in November.
It's very good.
God, this show, guys, this cowboy drama, it's so good. It's just like this rich guy that has like so much land in Montana. He's just got cows for days. He's rich. All of his kids are old and rich and angry, and just they do so much murder. It's so much murder that shouldn't even. You're like, surely this isn't legal. Kevin Costner is a rancher named John Dutton. He's like the 7th generation of people that own this ranch up in Montana, and he's like the wealthiest guy in town, and he's doing everything and anything in his power to keep that ranch away from all those dirty, stinking like corporate fools that just want to build like a ski resort up there and ruin the good land that God gave him.
Yeah, the culture. Yeah. Okay.
And there's just a lot of deceit and stuff, and like it's just good cowboy drama.
Just good small town politics, but like big town, small town, because Montana's pretty big.
The biggest part of that small town.
Small town community, like small town mentality.
Small town field,
Yeah.
big city.
Small town field, small town feels.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that
But
sounds
it's
good.
a great show. You should watch it. Like the last episode of season 3, like woof.
I feel like it's a show, and I mean, you kind of have proven this point to me because I think it's the perfect show to watch with your dad, and you just finished catching up on it with your dad. So,
with my dad.
So I think that's the best way to experience it.
Yeah, just watch the show, guys.
So if I could
It's
borrow
worth
your
it.
dad for like a week,
Hey,
I can
man.
get through it. Yeah.
Has your dad seen it?
Oh, he can't move anywhere right now, can he?
Nah.
I could just stroll in the house right now and put on Yellowstone. He can't do a thing about it.
What's going on there? No, he can walk around.
Oh, okay. I won't do that then.
But yeah, great show, guys. And now Snoop's gonna tell you where we can be found.
Sure. I was thinking about it. I do have a small thing.
Oh, okay, you can say it then.
I was going to talk to you guys about it because one of you can't play it, even if you wanted to, and one of you could play it, but not really because you have a child.
What, Squid Games?
No, we could all play that. We'll go in the backyard and do some casual Squid Games after this.
Okay.
No, I bought it came out I guess a couple weeks ago, but I've caved and bought Deathloop. I don't know if you guys have kept up with that at all.
No.
Nah, I've listened to people talk about playing it, and it sounds very fun.
So I think you'd really like it. I don't think that you would beat it, but I think you'd
Oh,
really
I-
enjoy it.
How would I've beaten like maybe 3 to 5 games.
Just in general,
I
yeah.
played about like maybe 50, but I've beaten about 3 to 5.
I don't know if I will beat the game itself. Like there's so much to do. It's one of these games where it's made by a company that I think Bethesda acquired, Arcane. They did
they made the
Dishonored.
Yeah, Dishonored series.
Yeah, which is just
and
like
Prey,
and Prey. Yeah, so
which I want to play that one.
I've heard Prey is really good. Andy played
played
Prey
it, yeah.
and he liked it, and I know he loved this game. But basically, you are a guy who wakes up on a beach and you walk around for a bit, and then you're immediately murdered, and then you wake back up on the beach, and it's like, oh, I'm in a time loop. And so the goal of the game is to break this loop. You have to kill X amount of people on the island, and you can do that however it works for you. So you
have
get,
to kill
like,
the assassins that are trying to kill you, basically,
There's a bit of
before your time runs out.
yeah. So
Because it's a loop. It's a Groundhog's Day game.
it is, and what I like about it that I didn't really understand until playing it is it's not your typical. They call that, what do they call it? Roguelike? Is what,
Yeah, and you keep your stuff in certain ways, and
you lose everything else when you reset, and you have to beat the game in one sitting. Basically, I don't have the time to play a game like that typically. New Cat's trying to eat the pizza. All right, put New Cat back in timeout.
I was wondering what all that noise was.
A walk of shame for New Cat.
He's such a sweetheart, though.
He's an asshole.
it's just roguelite.
Yeah, so it's a roguelike game that knows that not everybody likes that kind of game. Like, I like the idea of that game, but I'm just not at a point in my life anymore where I can dedicate time to learning everything about this game I need to know to not die and beat in one sitting. So this gives you a lot of little elements that
And I hear
think-
it's got save points and stuff like that. Like once you beat a certain person, you don't have to quite do it, or you know how to do it well enough that you don't need to take as much time the next time you do it.
Yes, so there's a lot more leeway, and the biggest things is you start out with this. Everyone has an ability. Like all these people you have to kill to end the loop, they have abilities. Well, if you manage to kill one of those people in any loop and die, you still can have their ability. But an ability that you were given from the get-go that you always have will let you come back to life in the same loop at least 2 times. If you die a third time, then it resets the actual
Well,
loop.
that's nice of them.
It is nice, and I haven't gotten to this point, but I've listened to other people talk about it and watch videos and reviews. It's more strategic than I thought it was going to be, but I'm kind of looking forward to that because you have to kill all of these guys in the one loop to actually beat the game. And to do that, there's not enough time in the day. I think it's broken up into 4 sections of the day, so it's like morning, like early afternoon, afternoon, evening, midnight kind of deal. And so if you don't beat them all in that time period, the loop will reset. So to make that happen, you have to kind of learn secrets about these guys that are roaming the island.
It's like I need to put a trap here so that they just die in the evening period while I'm killing their buddy, basically, or something like that.
Yes, there's that. You can like trick 2 or 3 of these guys into the same area, so you can kill all 3 of them at once. And then so it's like, okay, there's 3 guys down. Now I have the time I need to go find the other guys. So, and it's just a game that you can approach from a variety of different ways once you figure out all the tricks about the island that you're on and like what weapons work best, what powers work best. It's just one big sandbox, and honestly a little overwhelming at first. Like I'm very much a person who, when I play a video game, I like a narrative and I like to be guided. That's why I love like the Spider-Man game that came out recently. I played through all the Uncharted stuff. That was great. So to get my mindset in this kind of game was a little difficult for me at first, but it's really well made. It just a lot of personality, a lot of fun, different weird weapons and powers. Like I just picked up a random gun that a guy had and it shoots nails, but you can also like hold it to charge it, so it shoots like a sniper rifle.
That's pretty cool.
Just a nail gun. So yeah, I it's on PC and PlayStation, and eventually it'll be on Xbox at some point.
Yeah, because it's one of those weird ones where Xbox bought Bethesda, but it was already on a deal with PlayStation to be an exclusive, so now it's going to be exclusive for like a year, and then they'll get the rights to it.
And it'll
for
go on
everything
Game
else.
Pass probably, yeah.
Side note, I think that's probably going to be, the war that's going on, because now we're moving on to like the realm of exclusives, and then people are just going to start buying like indie studios, and
It's already happening. Like
Well, PlayStation had already had like who knows how many Naughty Dog, Insomniac, all that jazz, and now Xbox or Microsoft finally got in the game a little bit. They had been buying indie studios, but this is their first like major grab.
I think Microsoft is going more this route of let's have some exclusive stuff, but let's make our main focus just giving access to games and through our platform. I think if they hadn't done Game Pass, I don't really know what kind of shape Microsoft would be in on the gaming side. Like that changed everything for them, because they were on. I feel like they were not close to on the way out, but I feel like it was a possibility. And they implemented Game Pass. It's a great value for the service you're getting, and they bought Bethesda. As far as I'm aware, Bethesda will still offer most games on other platforms. Like I think that we'll get like what is it, Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever. I think we will get that on both PlayStation and on Xbox.
At the most, they'll do a timed exclusive like this is.
Yes, exactly. And then they'll give it to everyone else. With Sony, I find it interesting that they're kind of holding firm on this idea of no, if you want to play our games, you come to us. And they're still doing that because they have PlayStation Now, which is like a pseudo Game Pass, but not really.
Well, it's just two sides of the same coin. Xbox, Microsoft has their Game Pass thing, and they're able to give out these indie games and like their exclusives, and they're able to do that for a subscription fee, and people are like, oh, heck yeah. And then if you're on the PlayStation side of things, you're like, oh, they have all these exclusive games. Like Xbox doesn't have any exclusive games. Why would I want one of those? And it just depends on how you play games. Me specifically, Xbox's style works better because I can't drop $60 on a game that I'm not going to finish, but I sure as heck can download this one that sounded kind of cool off of Game Pass.
Yeah.
And play, I don't know, 3 to 5 hours of it and jump into something new.
It has been interesting to kind of see gaming go this way in the last like less than a decade, really. Good. Because for the longest time, like when I was doing it was just like, if you want these games, you have to be on this side. And that line is kind of blurred more than ever at this point. PlayStation did just acquire Blue Point Games, which they have been doing all those like really
Horror
successful. I don't know about horror. So they do all like the remakes.
Oh yeah. They did
Demon's Souls. They've done the Uncharted series, I believe. They remastered those.
Thinking of that one that did that, like premonition one for Xbox or whatever. What was that one called? The Mind Reader one, the Mentalist. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. The one where it like splits the view like that you're in.
Oh, you're like, talking about the Spirit Medium. Medium?
Is the Medium. Maybe it was like that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, which that's actually on.
That's made by somebody that has a name similar.
Yeah. That game's not that bad actually. It's. Oh, did you play it too? Nice. Yeah, it was doing a lot. And for the most part, I think it nailed a decent amount. But yeah, that's all I have. Like that's all I've been playing. I don't do much around here. I just edit this podcast.
So what else do you have for us after that?
Let me grab this drink. This third drink you've made me. I'm feeling pretty good, by the way.
Like, nice and warm.
Just so loose.
On a nice Saturday evening. We didn't let it get too far. I really don't know how we did it. I do know how we did it to ourselves the one time that we got too bad. We made doubles, and then we had like 3 of those. So technically we had 6 drinks.
And then we hit record.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily we had Michael to kind of help share the load as far as the drinking goes. But I guess for another month, it's time to clean up shop. So Higgins normally does it. I will kind of take the lead, and he can take it from me if he wants to. If you want to find Higgins and tell him he should always do the ending, you can do that. He's got Twitter. He's got Instagram. His Twitter is at Mike Higgins93. His Instagram is JSturm93.
Nailed it.
Every time. I nailed it because I don't have to worry about my own. Mine are Snoop_Lynch on both Twitter and Instagram. It's not important, though, because I'm not going to be there. Don't even look at me.
He might still see it.
Don't look at me, Michael.
He might see it 2 months ago, 2 months later.
I check in every now and again, yeah. But yeah, if you want to, you could send me something or whatever. I don't care. But I would prefer that you send me an email to the email address that we set up, which is yourcomrades@gmail.com. You can send us a letter. You can tell us how you feel about the show, what you like, what you don't like. You can also do that in a review on, say, an Apple podcast, not a Spotify podcast. I don't think they'll let you review, but another podcast thing you could do.
Yeah,
that.
just anywhere that you can review. I know. I said I was leaving the Apple podcast, and I'm a full-time Spotify boy on the podcast, but you still got to leave us a review on there.
Google Podcast.
You Google Podcast boy. All right.
Now we're on there too, thankfully.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everywhere. We're everywhere.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. It's not that hard to be on most of those things.
I love telling people that because they're like, God, that's so impressive. And you're like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you do podcasting?
It took like a week. It took like a week.
Stayed up all night trying to get that done.
You said our email address?
Yeah, I said the email
All
where
right.
they could send us a letter, but that's not the only places they could go because we know as of now they can go to Michael's website for his business, 008 Studios.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Where can we find Michael at?
So, the website is 0-0-8studios.com. So, 008studios.com. Feel free to subscribe. Just stay in contact with the stories that we're working on. Message me. You can actually send a message, for the podcast on the website. And then if you're curious about any of the services, just shoot me an email, michael.lopez@008studios.com.
Nice.
Excellent. Very good. And we will keep everyone who listens to this month-to-month updates for
Posted. Because I'm pretty pumped to read your sci-fi fantasy book because I like space adventures, but I don't like Star Wars.
As long as there's an appropriate amount of nudity in it.
Yeah,
Right.
I love to
See
imagine
about
nudity.
That's what the illustrations are, Higgins.
Oh,
Right. See, let's not throw people off.
No,
No, it's definitely a nice little friendly fantasy story. And then it has its fair share of gore at the very end.
I'm excited. Nice. I mean, we should do an episode about it when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm so down for that.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, in the meantime, though, I think we are about wrapped up here.
Yeah.
Dog's about to sleep. Cat's meowing in the other room.
Actually not meowing at the moment.
Okay. Well, let's appreciate that silence for just a second.
All right.
Good. And let's let these people go for one more month.
All right.
And until we see them again, I will say cheers, guys. And Higgins will say...
Oh, well, Michael, I'll just wrap this
Higgins
up.
will say, Michael will wrap us up. Who's going to say?
May the force be with you.
And like our forefathers said before us, if your significant other doesn't like Star Wars puns, then you're looking for love in all the wrong places.
When'd you find that one on the internet?
I had a whole list. There's 50 of them.
At least you saved your best for last. Good.